So while Commander Ford is engaged in that spheres activity most of the day today, he'll also be doing some prep work in order to get ready for coming home a little bit later this week. Aside from all this experiment and maintenance activity, he was able to take some time out of his day yesterday to do a ham radio pass with some students in a public school in Australia. Why don't we take a listen to that conversation from yesterday?
Today we are acting from Italy as a telebridge station for Mount Ousley Public School in Meadow, Australia. Are you ready for the first question, Kevin? Over.
I'm ready for the first question from Mount Ousley Public School.
Okay, Kevin. Signal is go ahead, Australia, with first question.
How does radiation affect you, and do you worry about radiation levels in the thin atmosphere? Over.
I don't worry about them myself, but there are many engineers who watch the radiation levels for us. We have equipment on board that can warn us if we need to take shelter. We have some special places we can go with some little extra protection in our crew quarters. Have to be careful, and we wear detectors on us while we're in space. Great question. Over.
Does sound different in space, both in the ISS and when on a spacewalk? Over.
Well, it does sound a little different out here. Inside the space station, we can hear each other well when we're talking, and we can listen to music. There is a lot of extra noise from fans and things, but we always do have a background. When we're out on a spacewalk, we just wear headphones, and all we can hear is a radio. It's like this one. Over.
How do you store the oxygen needed for the astronauts, and do you have enough for extra months if needed?
Yes, we do. We carry plenty so that we can last another year or so. And we have tanks on the outside of the space station that hold reserve oxygen. So what we do inside is we rebreathe our oxygen. When we breathe it in, when you use it, we rebreathe it back out as carbon dioxide. We have special machines to get the oxygen out of it so that we can breathe it again. Over.
If someone gets ill, what sort of procedures do you have in place? If someone is critical, do you have the option to evacuate them back to Earth, and would you abort the mission? Over.
Oh, Riley, that's a really good question. We have good equipment, like defibrillators and certain kinds of drugs that are on board to help us. Like we could give an intraosseous shot into the bone if we had to resuscitate somebody, maybe in cardiac arrest or got poisoned or something. We also could evacuate them on a Soyuz spacecraft that we keep up here if necessary. Over. But that would mean that a crew of three, at least three crew members, would all have to go home. Hopefully we would have other people on board. Over.
Do you feel physically or mentally any different when you come back to Earth? Over.
Yes, we do. In both cases, we exercise a great deal up here, but when we come home, gravity is still going to be very heavy for me. Really hard for me to walk and sit around for a long time. My muscles will be sore and stiff, I think. I also have to recover my sense of balance. But as for mentally, I think it will just be getting used to all the people again and wind and the weather, because up here is a pretty sterile environment. Over.
How do you know whether it's night or day? Do you get a jet lag kind of feeling, and does it affect your sleep? Over.
Well, I'm happy to say I don't get jet lag and it doesn't affect my sleep. But whether it's night or day, we work on a 24-hour clock just like on Earth, and we use Greenwich Mean Time for our daily clock. So we wake up and we go to bed at the same time on our watches But 16 times each day we see light and dark. So if we look out the window, the sun rises and sun sets 16 times every day. But no problems with jet lag. Over.
This is Tuka asking Jackson's question. How does the ISS generate and store electricity to power everything? Over.
That's a great question. We use a lot of power on board, and we have very large solar arrays, solar panels that can generate electricity for us. When we're in the sunlight on our orbits, we can put it all into batteries and store it. so that when we're in the nighttime of our orbits, we can use it out of the batteries. So about every 90 minutes, they go through charging and discharging cycles. Inside, we always just see a good power supply. Over.
What were your preparations for going to the ISS, and how long does it take to train for the mission? Over.
For this particular flight, I had to train for about 2.5 years, both in Russia, also in Germany, also in Japan, and in Houston, Texas, for all the things I needed to learn. So that's just for this mission. Before that, I had about 2 years of training just to be a good astronaut, to learn about astronomy and medical procedures, science. Over.
Why is the work you do at the ISS important to mankind? Over.
Well, because so many different kinds of fields of study are influenced by Earth's gravity, the way things grow, the way metals solidify, and things like that, the way air moves, the way fire burns. It's all influenced by gravity on Earth. So to be able to come up here and study things without gravity, we can learn a tremendous amount that we didn't know before, and it will make a big difference in of those fields. Over.
What do you miss most about home when you're in space? Over.
Well, I do miss all the people that I get to interact with every day, and also the food that we have on the planet Earth, and also just our way of life and being able to walk around. Even though I like microgravity, I also like being able to walk around on my legs and have some. Over.
How do you read and write if things keep moving around? Over.
Well, that's a good question. We have to stabilize ourselves. Right now when I'm talking to you, I've got my feet locked underneath a little rail on the floor so they don't float away. I have to be able to use my hands to type and write if I need. So I have to do it with my feet in a very special way. Over.
Can you roll a dice so that it lands on a number, or will it just float away? Over.
The dice doesn't really work up here, so we can't play cards or we can dice or something like that if it's not made a very special way. Over.
How do you turn on and use the airlock? Over.
Well, when we're ready to use the airlock, we have to be able to open and close valves and open and close hatches. So we have to get everything all cleaned up and ready. Then the ground can power on all those valves for us so that they're available. And when it's time to go outside, we go into a special little chamber, close the hatch behind us. There's a hatch that goes outside with a valve, and we open up that valve. We let all the air out of the chamber, and we can open a big hatch to go outside into space. Over.
How do you become an astronaut in space? Over.
How do you become an astronaut in space? Well, you have to know a lot about math, science, engineering, learn to do a lot of things with your hands. Really, you do what you're doing right now is you just be a really good student in school, learn all the things you can, because all those subjects are important. And things like your language, learning a really good English and maybe learning a foreign language would be very helpful as an astronaut too. Over.
What do you consider to be the best part of your work? Over.
Well, the best part of my work is getting to work with so many people around the world on the International Space Station, because we're all working together to do something very special for our future. That's the absolute best. But I also love flying in rockets, and I love floating inside the space station. Love looking at the Earth from a long ways away. Over.
1 minute to loss.
A fire's a big risk. What would happen if there was a serious fire that got out of control? Over.
There's some risk from fires, and if we have to, we would evacuate the space station. But we do have some fire extinguishers.
Okay, everyone at Mount Ousley, could we have a big thank you to Commander Kevin Ford, please?